Hi everyone, I have an update for you now that there has been an announcement from the Victorian Government in regards to rent relief for tenants. So I'm going to provide some information for tenants first, and then I will update the landlords because there is a lot for tenants to be updated on. Now, a new announcement that has been made is for residential tenancies only, and it's for tenant or subtenants in a residential property, rooming house or caravan park. The first thing I wanted to make sure tenants were aware of is that rent increases are also frozen for the next 6 months. So until September 26, your rent can't be increased, and you also can't be evicted. So if there's a notice to vacate issued after the 26th of March, then it's invalid and no evictions can take place until after the 26th of September. If you're in a lease and you're suffering from severe financial hardship and you want to break your lease, you can apply for an early termination of your lease to the landlord, and the landlord or agent can't inflict any lease breaking fees or lodge you with the National Tenancy Database. And that is also applicable for any tenant who is in rent arrears due to financial hardship. You cannot afford to pay your rent, but you want to stay in the property. The first thing that you should do is speak to your landlord or your agent and request a rent reduction. Now, you don't know what situation the landlord is in. They also may be suffering financial hardship, but I do have a template letter that has proven to be quite successful. And if you contact me at property@nataliegrant.net, I'll happily forward you that template letter to help you get the best reduction possible. Don't ignore the issue. If you don't get a response from the owner, don't withhold rent, because you're still in breach of your tenancy if you do not pay your rent. They can't evict you, but at the end of the day, it's still payable, and you are still in breach of your lease if you're not paying your rent. If you can't pay your rent and if you can't pay your rent and the landlord hasn't agreed to a rent reduction agreement, then you can contact Consumer Affairs, and they have accredited mediators on hand to assist, and they will mediate between you and the landlord and try and come to an agreement, which is recorded. If you cannot come to an agreement with the mediators, then it goes through to a dispute resolution service, and whatever the final ruling is in that dispute service is binding. So the landlord has to agree to it or has to adhere to it. As well as that, tenants are also eligible for a rent relief grant if they come to an agreement with their landlord in regards to the rent. So the tenants will be able to apply to receive support of up to $2,000, and this is paid directly to the landlord or agent to cover the cost of any shortfall in rent. Details from Consumer Affairs are on a link on my website. So go to nataliegrant.net and you'll be able to find more details there. I've had a lot of tenants contact me in regards to rent reduction requests with their landlords, and they have had an issue with agents asking for pay slips or a bank statement. The reason why they ask for these documents is because it is a requirement that you provide proof of loss of income. So you're not automatically entitled to a rent reduction just because of these announcements from the government. It's only for people that have actually had a loss of income or suffering decreased income because of COVID-19. So that is why they ask for your bank statement, because they need to be able to ascertain that you have receiving less money than what you were before, and just receiving pay slips doesn't necessarily determine that. Now, for landlords, there isn't a lot of on offer for you, unfortunately. The Consumer Affairs stance is that they recommend you speak to your insurer and your mortgage provider to see in what way they can assist you. But from what I know, landlord insurance aren't going to assist you, and your mortgage may be able to be deferred for a few months, but you're still required to pay the full amount at the end of the day. If you do come to an agreement with your tenant, though, if you do agree to a rent reduction, you may be, not definitely, but you may be entitled to a 25% reduction in your land tax bill. I'm a tenant, I'm a landlord, I'm an agent, and from my situation, land tax, 25% reduction on land tax is a lot less than 25% reduction in rent. So it's definitely tipped towards the tenants, but luckily my tenant hasn't requested a rent deduction, and I haven't requested one from my agent either. It's assumed that if you own a property that you are in a better financial position, or that you have more money in general because you own a rental property. And I would like to use myself as an example to show that that isn't necessarily the case. I mean, when I purchased my property 10 years ago, because I never traveled in my 20s. So, you know, I'm not rich because I have a rental property. I chose to save and spend my money and get into debt at a younger age. And instead of traveling, I didn't travel overseas until I was nearly 30. So, and my income has been reduced by over 50% with COVID-19. So it's not, it doesn't mean that because I'm an owner that I am in a better financial situation than a tenant. I hope this has been helpful for you, and remember, go to my website nataliegrant.net if you would like to see the full details from Consumer Affairs, and feel free to contact me if you would like a copy of the rental reduction template letter at property@nataliegrant.net. If you have found my videos and my information updates helpful, I would greatly appreciate anyone going to my Facebook page and writing a review and giving me a rating, because that can definitely help my business as well. That is all for me today. Thank you very much.